Go.
Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung. Take two. We was having some internet issues, so we're going to try to do this again. But since we're starting over, might as well say this again. Congratulations to Mr. Bob Cook, our professional wrestling guest on Tuesdays. He is officially now in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted last night. He has a beautiful ring. Hoping he'll be able to stop in tonight for a moment. He has a lot of things going on though, so we will see him on Tuesday. But again, congratulations, it is well deserved. So,
Yes, it is. So we're gonna start from the beginning, or we're gonna leave it or go where we left off.
Nope, start from the beginning of SmackDown.
All right. So we start with LA Knight to the ring. Paul Heyman comes out shortly. Pretty much threatens him to leave, or something bad's going to happen to him. LA Knight says, "You know what? Why don't you and I have a match tonight?" Asked the crowd if they want to see it. The crowd went nuts. Pretty soon, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker come out and proceed to beat the shit out of him. LA Knight shows up with a chair and fends them off.
Yep, which, as I said earlier, I thought that was a little weak. Them running from the chair just because of those, just the size of those guys. They're booked as monsters, but nonetheless, that's what happened. Overall, a good segment. I thought the interaction between Paul Heyman and LA Knight was fairly decent.
Anytime you got two guys like that can talk in the ring, it's almost magical. Almost. Yep. This wasn't quite magical, but it was pretty good. And I'll reiterate that you can give a Mulkey Brothers steel chair. I ain't taking that hit. Sorry. So Paul Heyman pretty much lays out that this was a plan. You got to have patience, whatever. And it's later revealed that Bronson Reed will face LA Knight later in the night. Next, we go to Bliss versus Asuka. Bliss, I thought, really did well. She countered or blocked a lot of Asuka's many moves. I was kind of impressed by that, to be honest. She must, it gets down to if you study someone's tapes or whatnot.
Right.
If that's the case, Bliss really did study the tapes because she did a phenomenal job of anticipating a lot of moves.
Yeah, and as I said, I really wish it had been Bliss that would have won this match. Not a huge Asuka fan. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it was almost predictable that they would book Asuka to move on since she had been going for 400 plus days.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to hurt Bliss's career. She's on a good trajectory, with things going on with her and Charlotte. We'll get into that a little bit later. That could develop into something good or bad, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Next, we go to Chelsea.
I think real quick. I think my thing with Asuka though is I used to be an Asuka fan. They over the years they've done since she's been back since she went from NXT to the main roster. They have just done some really silly shit with her, made her do some silly things that was quote unquote entertaining or quote unquote funny. And it just I can't undo that in my head now. And I have a hard time envisioning Asuka, remembering Asuka as that unbeatable
dominant
killer.
Force.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying, and it kind of does diminish that a lot. But I think they're trying to bring that back to a degree.
Yeah.
By showing this side of Asuka. I think Asuka's entrance is a little over the top for me personally. I think her and Shinsuke both are. I think both her and Shinsuke kind of are over the top when they do their entrances. And I think both of them are phenomenal wrestlers, but
right.
I don't think WWE is doing them justice.
No, I agree because it's almost as if they don't realize that they're mocking themselves whenever they are coming out with a goofy dance, within their entry. It just looks terrible.
It might fly in Japan, but I think in some ways they're trying to reach like a kabuki kind of scenario,
Right,
and they're just not going to hit that. Kabuki was one of a kind, or
right.
maybe kabuki or Muda. You know,
Buddha.
I mean, these
Yep.
guys were just one of a kind or one offs. And
Right,
again, maybe that flamboyance might fly in Japan, but that just doesn't interest us here as much in the states. I guess I
right,
don't know. I don't watch enough of Japan wrestling to make a educated statement. I guess.
right.
So any of our fans want to reiterate on that? I'd be happy to hear it. Oscar obviously got the win. Next we go to Chelsea Bliss and Charlotte. Chelsea kind of giving Bliss a hard time about losing the match. Charlotte comes out, looks like she's going to defend Bliss, but ultimately doesn't really, I guess. Um, it's kind of
Yeah.
a mixed bag
So,
of nuts with them too, I guess. I don't know.
well, the thing is this. Uh, it seems like to me that they are going to try to have Charlotte turn back into a baby face to gain the fans back, which we'll see in a match that we'll be talking about here soon. Um, I hope that's
Yeah,
not
it's
the
hard to
case
say. I don't know.
because I think that it's too soon to turn Charlotte into a babyface. I don't think the fans are going to accept her back right now as a babyface.
Mm, fans are kind of like sheep. They'll follow what the storyline is, I guess.
Well,
You know,
we'll
in
see.
my opinion. So all right. So next we go to Aleister Black versus Kip Wilson of Pretty Deadly. I don't understand the meaning behind this match, but it didn't happen. Our Truth came out and attacked Kip.
Yep.
Our Truth demanding John Cena come out. Some producers from backstage, one of them being
Noble.
oh god, yeah,
Jamie
Jamie
Noble.
Noble. Yep, who looks good for his age, to be honest. Looks like he still can go around.
Yep.
He kind of diffuses the situation, and takes our Truth out of the ring at
But
least.
didn't it look like our truth though was thinking about hitting this dude? I mean, it literally,
Yes,
I
it
was
was.
waiting for it to happen. I was waiting for it to happen. I was hoping it would
Yeah.
happen, to be honest with you.
Well, to be honest, I think what the hell's his name?
Jamie Noble.
Yeah, Noble. He's had just as long a career with WWE as Truth has, pretty much. But Jamie's been behind the scenes for probably 80% of it. You
Right.
know,
Yep.
Jamie must have had a career-ending injury or something. I don't know. I can't
You
remember.
know, I don't remember either. I remember that he was teamed up with the young lady that won one of the Tough Enoughs. I can't
Gata,
remember
Jackie
who.
Gata, Jackie Gata.
No, mm-mm,
Oh,
nope,
then
nope.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, she had the white trash look going on, and now it's gonna bother them to look it up. But it seemed like as soon as she was let go for WWE, Jamie Noble disappeared, and next thing you know, he's working behind the scenes. So I don't know.
He
I'm not
was.
sure what happened with Jamie Noble.
I thought Jamie Noble was like a junior Chris Benoit as far as ability and talent and size.
Yeah,
I could see a lot of similarities between the two, but Jamie just didn't have the size that Chris did.
Nadia.
Oh yeah, that's right, Nadia. All right.
Yeah.
And as far as the white trash look, well, that was Jamie Noble's look, wasn't it? Didn't Jamie Noble
Mm-hmm.
come out with shorts and a wife beater shirt most times?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, anyways, I like Jamie Noble. You know.
I
All
did
right, so then
too. Go ahead.
we go to Alistair Knight confronting our Truth about why he's getting in his business. Damian Priest steps in, kind of diffuses the situation, says, "Hey, you just take care of Xenonite, and then we'll go out onto the town." How's that sound?
Yep. Now the thing with that is, and once again, just like our truth, kind of made that face with Jamie Noble, like he was going to knock out Jamie Noble after Damian Priest told him that, and he walked off. Our truth. It looked like he was becoming our truth again, basically. But then he got this look on his face. I predict that we're going to see a heel turn pretty soon here by our truth.
I don't know if they can pull off an our truth heel turn. To be honest, I don't know if they can. I think the crowd is just too much behind him.
Yeah,
You know,
we'll
I
see.
like to see him try, but I just
Right.
he's gonna walk that line of anti-hero. That's all it's gonna be.
Hmm.
So so instead of hearing what, you're gonna hear what's up.
Right.
So
Right.
all right. So next we go to Cody Rhodes to the ring, which took forever. Jey Uso to the ring, which took even longer. Sammy to the ring. Everybody gave their praises and whatnot. Sammy says, "Well, you finish your story. You finish your story. Now it's time for me to finish my story." And then Randy Orton's music hits. Randy pretty much says, very soon you're going to be world champion, but not this time. Which leads us to Sammy
Yeah.
versus Randy.
Yep. Yep. Which it was a good match. Uh, as I said earlier, I was not expecting Zayn to win, but she didn't. I still, same as somebody else, that I still think that we're going to be seeing a heel turn before long with him. Now, I'll be honest. I thought maybe they were going to try to protect Sami Zayn from taking that L. I was expecting Karrion Cross to interfere in the match and getting Sami Zayn disqualified.
He still would have lost, but yeah, I would have protected him more.
Right, but he would have took that three count.
Right, but then that would lead to Randy versus Cross, not Sammy versus Cross. Well, I don't. Yeah, Sammy would be pissed because he got DQ'd because.
Right, right. The
All right,
king of
yeah,
the
all right.
ring.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Well, nonetheless, we can look forward to Sammy versus Cross because Sammy said last week, when I'm done with this, I'm coming after
Right.
you.
Yep.
So, then we go to Nia Jax to the ring, pretty much crying, moaning about, she took Tiffany in and developed Tiffany and how'd she get treated. She got cashed in on and beat. All right. Tiffany comes out and says, you know what? I'm done of your crying, you're whining. Next week, you got a match against me, last woman standing. Which to me
Right.
is kind of
Now,
a foolish move, but whatever.
so earlier this week, there was a report that came out that said Nia Jax was pregnant. And I didn't even bother to report on it. I just kind of read it. I'm like, whatever, I really don't care. But then when I seen her out last night and when she took that bump, I went, this is obviously some fuckery going on because Nia Jax is not pregnant. WWE would have never allowed her to take any bump whatsoever if she was
I
pregnant.
think I think the story is that she has animals and the animal had a baby.
Oh, yeah. See,
Right.
again, I just read a little bit of it. And I'm like, I don't care. And folks, by the way, we are now going from a get your bell rung to Mark's only fan account because fucking laying back in bed.
Pretty much, pretty much. Sorry. Subscription $15.95 a month. I couldn't get 15 pesos. All right. Anyways, Nia comes out. She wants to cash in, and Nia adamantly blocks her and says, "Get out of here." All right.
Yeah,
So next we go.
I like this. Yeah, I think it's funny. Does does she look like she's lost? When I say she, I mean not Nia Jax, but Naomi. Naomi looks like she's dropped some weight.
Yeah, she does. Her face isn't quite as round.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. It could be her hair too. I don't know. But yeah, no. This version of Naomi is actually worth watching. You
Yes.
know, um, Naomi before was kind of like Bailey. You
Right.
you can expect her to win, but she's gonna lose more often than not.
Yep.
But
Now
this
let me ask you
Naomi,
this.
okay.
Let me ask you this though. This isn't the first time they've had Nia Jax stop Naomi from cashing in. It happened last week too. Do you think this is going to lead into some type of a rivalry between Naomi and Nia Jax?
I think it's possible. I also see Naomi taking the belt off of Tiffany.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
and Nia going after Naomi for it. You know,
Now, but this leads me to my next question about that. Do you think that they'll just leave it two heels fighting with one another, or do you think that they're going to possibly turn Nia Jax into a baby face or try to? Someone else I just don't think the fans will cheer for, but
I could see him trying to turn Nia into a face. To be honest, whether it works or not, I don't know. So
it hasn't in the past, man. It's failed miserably in the past.
I don't know. I like Nia, so to me it doesn't matter which way she goes. I mean, I'm not overly excited about Nia, but I can tolerate her matches and semi enjoy her promos for the most part.
Right.
Um, she's another one that should have been an unstoppable force that they've demonstrated that she's not. So all right. So next we go to a Punk and Cena video of their past, pretty much, just retelling everything about them. Let's see, yeah. Well, yeah, I was gonna say I had my notes Chelsea versus Charlotte, but I somehow spit out Charlotte versus Chelsea. Chelsea's still wearing that face mask. Uh, Elbow Fire attacked Flair before the match. Chelsea got the upper hand. Flair got the win. Then right after the win, a beatdown pursued by Elbow Fire and Piper Niven and Chelsea. Bliss came out to help, offered her hand and a shake, and Flair refused and walked away.
Yeah. So again, this is what I was really referring to when I said that it seems like they're trying to attempt to turn Charlotte Flair into that baby face. What I hope ends up happening though is that they're going to have Charlotte turn on Alexa Bliss some way, somehow, leaving Charlotte Flair as that heel. I don't like a babyface Charlotte Flair. I think it looks unnatural. She just looks like she's a heel. So I really hope that's what's going to happen.
I think that's kind of predetermined by her heritage because her father was a heel for most of his career. You know, and to be honest, Flair was probably a better heel than a face, but I enjoyed Ric Flair regardless if he was a heel or a face. You know, but I
Yeah,
mean,
go
you
ahead.
could really get behind Flair as a heel.
You could, but Ric Flair, it was buyable. It was believable when he was a baby face, especially as he got older, right? Charlotte Flair she just looks like that girl that you just want to flip off all the time or tell her to go fuck off or whatever. She just and when she they've tried to have her as a baby face, it didn't work. It didn't seem like she was being sincere. It seemed like she was fake. I don't know. I just know that I myself don't like Charlotte Flair as a baby face.
I think as Flair got older, he was more believable because he had a lot of reality based emotion.
Hmm.
I mean, when Flair was face and he talked with passion, emotion, and he brought in real life situations.
Hmm.
So you could relate to him as a human being. You
Right.
know, plus he was getting the shit kicked out of him by the NWO, so that was always you know more
Right.
relatable then. So
Yep.
all right, so next we go to Solo and Cobb backstage. Cobb's looking for a fight. Solo says, "No, you stay behind, but be ready." So Solo goes to the ring, calls out Jacob, pretty much explains, "Hey, when nobody believed in you, I believed in you. I brought you in here, blah blah. I love you, Solo or Jacob." Jacob fired back with, "Well, I think he brought me in to use me," and the crowd was really behind Jacob. I was shocked, but not shocked. Anyways,
Yeah.
Cobb, Cobb comes out. Jimmy Uso comes out, and they pretty much clear the ring.
Yeah, and I seen this coming. I mean, I don't know what wrestling fan didn't see this coming. I told my wife as soon as Jeff Cobb hit the ring that I said I guarantee you that Uso is going to come out. I think that this is what this has been leading up to. And I think that we're going to see that tag team between Fatu and Uso.
So, a sub story of the bloodline. We don't
Kind
need
of.
this. We don't need this.
It's going to
The
happen.
bloodline is the bloodline is played out. It's
It
old.
is. I don't know. I think that I could really see WWE having Fatu and Big Jim tag team on a long term basis, and even putting the tag team titles on them, because it is obvious that WWE has no interest in Jimmy Uso as a solo wrestler. The
No, they
guy
don't.
is an enhanced talent, basically. So I think that the only way he's going to get used in a positive way where he's actually winning matches and can possibly have gold is if he has another tag team partner. And I think Fatu is going to be that guy.
It's a shame because him versus brother was so eagerly anticipated and it was such a great letdown. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was.
You know.
And with Jacob Fatu and Big Jim Uso, they could literally name that tag team the Fatus because
Yeah.
Jim's real last name is Fatu. So
It's funny because Jacob is such a throwback to his I don't know, his uncles or whatnot. He is such a throwback. You could stick him in the skirt, the Samoan skirt and whatnot, and it'd be like looking back 30 years ago.
he reminds me the one he reminds me of the most is Omega or not Omega. Yeah, what's his name? Omega. Yeah,
Umaga,
Umaga. That's it.
Umaga.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. That he really reminds me of his cousin Umaga.
yeah, you're right there. Um, all right, so let's see. Then we go to Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. Braun Breaker interferes, and then a severe beatdown.
Yeah. Does it seem like L.A. Knight just got written off of TV for a while last night
Possibly. Maybe he
because
doesn't
of
want to go to
all of
Saudi
those
Arabia.
maybe all those splashes he took?
Oh yeah, splash. He doing what? Two splashes
Typhoon.
and a spear.
Yeah, it was like three top. What is it? The move called a typhoon or a
Yeah, something like that.
yeah,
What
yeah, but
surprises me is Bronson Reed broke his ankle or whatever doing that move. I wouldn't be doing
yeah,
that.
that nah. But the difference is when he did that move, he did it from the top of a cage onto a table.
Yeah, it's
So
true, but still, I'd be gun shy. But what do I know? All right. So next we go backstage. Jacob challenges Solo. I'm gonna dog walk your ass. I just rolled.
yep,
I don't know what it is about Solo, but he was great as like the enforcer. He was believable, but when you put a suit on him, he's like diaper rash. You can't wait for him to go away.
right, yep.
So next we go to Truth versus Cena. Uh,
So
Cena. Okay,
let's stop right here. So I know you're going to go through the match. We can just talk about it. I was happy to finally see our truth, going against Cena, having truth being used. But for what purpose? This match was barely 2 minutes. And by the time this match officially ended, which was when WWE went off the air, um, you pretty much had forgot that our truth was even involved in this match. This did not highlight or do our truth any favors. It really, really didn't. That was my problem with this match. It was basically our truth just kind of as a side note. Now, after saying all of this, the promo that John Cena cut last night, which imitated CM Punk's truth, the pipe bomb promo, Cena was on fire. Um, I felt like this is the first time I've seen John Cena truly back since he's come back. Uh, he was great last night. You know, I thought I was going to die when he said bullshit or something like that, and he looked at the crowd. Ooh, yo, I cursed, blah blah blah. Dude, it was fantastic. So I love that aspect of it. What I didn't like was the actual match with our truth because again, our truth was treated just like he was some type of a side note. And by the time it was said and done, you really forgot our truth was even involved in a match with John Cena.
It's funny you mentioned that because all it's going to do is prolong the storyline, which is fine in my opinion. It gives Truth another opportunity at the belt or whatever the case may be. It's funny you mentioned that Zena's pipe bomb. I wrote that in my notes that Zena had his own pipe bomb. Um, I was really shocked that he mentioned Nick Nemeth, Claudio,
Told it.
and Matt
Yep.
Cardona. I was shocked. And
Yep.
probably there's probably two, maybe three guys that could probably pull it off. I think one of them
Right.
being CM Punk, and then would probably be Randy Orton. Maybe a Cody Rhodes could pull that off. But the fact
Right.
that John Cena called these guys out, broke the fourth wall, I was
Yep.
utterly shocked.
Yep. But it was great.
So,
Now with our truth, I mean, where could they possibly go with him with John Cena, unless we're going to see the next thing happening with our truth is going to be him turning into a heel, somehow joining forces with John Cena. I don't know, but I think last night was a huge injustice to that moment that we all thought was our truth is, his moment, before he goes off into the sunset. Because again, I mean, did you really think while John Cena was doing that promo, were you really wondering at all about anything about our truth at that point?
no, not really. I guess ultimately for me, this is what I'd love to see. This would absolutely love to see. I'd like to see this carry on until the end of Zena's career. All right. And Zena dropped the belt to Truth, and Seth Rollins coming in to cash in on our Truth, and John Cena dropping Seth like a bad habit, which would revert John to a face, and you know give our Truth the belt and screw Seth Rollins out of his Money in the Bank. I think ideally that would be the best thing for me to see.
That would be awesome. That's why we know it's not going to happen because it would be awesome to see.
Right, 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 right.
And I
You
don't think
know,
they're going to do that.
uh,
Uh,
I'm not a huge fan of Seth. I mean, he's got talent, he's got ability, but Seth to me is not an imposing factor. You
mhm.
know, I don't think his wrestling skills are that phenomenal or awesome. I don't think he's probably a good ring technician, but I mean, as far as ability, I give him a C plus at best. His promos, they don't really excite me. The whole architect sort of thing is old and tiresome to me. Um, I'd give him a B minus on promos. You know,
He has such
overall
an
with everything.
annoying he has such an annoying fucking voice too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
God damn.
um, I mean, I think there's so many. There's a lot more guys that are more talented. I think LA Knight on a mic in the ring is probably better than Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins' time has passed. To be honest, I think his hottest time was probably 2015, 14, 16. I don't know. You know, just after breaking away from the Shield, I guess.
Yeah,
So that's nearly 10 years now.
the thing with Seth Rollins, I think, is the big thing that's going for him, especially now, is and John Cena actually mentioned this, but he was referred to CM Punk when he called CM Punk Mr. TKO. If you really think about it, I think Seth Rollins is the one that's really the Mr. TKO. He fits whatever mode that they want their athletes to fit in. And I think that's why he is continuously going to get this push more so than LA Knight. I don't think LA Knight fits whatever image that TKO has as far as what their mode of their own the athlete that they want. Um in that number one spot on WWE. I think they very much look at LA Knight as someone who has one foot out the door because of his age. I think because of the way he carries himself, the way he talks, they look at him as being even somewhat of a dinosaur because he fits more of that attitude era type style than he does with whatever era we're in now with WWE. So I think that's one big reason why you both see LA Knight get that push that he deserves, but you're going to see Seth Rollins get that push and continuously get that push.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, LA Knight and Damian Priest aren't that far different in age,
Right.
and Priest was a world champion. Seth is only 3, 4 years behind LA Knight in age. You know, LA Knight really has gone pretty much a whole career without many, if at all, injuries. You know,
Right. I get that. But
um,
I think
but
again, it goes to when you see LA Knight, when you hear him talk, your mind goes directly to your Stone Cold Steve Austin's in that attitude era. Damian
yep,
Priest is kind of, you can kind of see him being the here and now. But look, he's not getting a big push either. I don't think we'll ever see him have another title run, to be honest with you.
I don't
So
either.
I don't know.
Speaking of that, where's Drew McIntyre been? I haven't seen him either.
No, I haven't seen him either. I don't know. I was actually wondering that myself last night. We didn't see Seth last night. I think maybe he had babysitting duties last night. I don't know.
Could be,
But he was last night, which
could
surprised
be.
me. So, but yeah, I mean, we're what a
I
week.
think.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Sorry.
No, what we're what a week away from the next PLE.
Yeah,
Yes, coming Saturday.
yeah,
So
I believe so.
and what's crazy is this is a PLE that I'm not even that excited about. I mean, I can
It
name
seems like
one match. I can literally only name one match that's happening. That's John Cena CM Punk. Do you
yeah,
have
I'm
any
the king of
idea
the
what?
rings.
Oh
No,
yeah, the King of the Ring.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's the only three I can name. You
right,
know, it seems like the ones from Saudi Arabia just don't command the the attention that the other ones do. I think you know. I think in the back of our mind we know it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock at night or something, so we just kind of tune it out, and we'll get around to watching it. But it's not. Oh my God, it's 7 o'clock. The PLE's on.
right,
So
right. Yeah,
I just don't feel the excitement for the Saudi Arabia ones, and they're not bad shows. It's just they're not pushing them as hard, I guess.
yeah, but you know what? At the same time, um, we were saying the same thing about Money in the Ring. I mean, Money in Briefcase
Money in the
match,
Bank.
Money in the Bank. Shit, I said Money in the Bank. Um, we weren't excited about it. It did turn out being a decent, you know, PLE. So we'll see. I just know that I can tell you that if this was not a free, if this costs money to get it on pay per view, I would not be getting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
That's the hard part because you don't have to order the PLE, or pay per
right,
view, because the internet will tell you who won and lost within 3 minutes of it happening.
right. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know about you, but CM Punk versus John Cena does not excite me at all.
Oh,
For
I'm a little excited
one,
over it.
see, but I'm not because I know that there's no way CM Punk is winning this match. Uh, John Cena is going to win it, so it's predictable. John Cena versus CM Punk, I have no interest in. I would prefer to see John Cena go against a younger guy, something fresh, something new, instead of this.
That's where I'm different. I'm all for the nostalgia. You know,
Yeah,
just
but
like
how many
Cena
more
versus
times?
Randy, I'd watch that again.
How many more times you're going to see nostalgia though with John Cena? I mean, this is all that happens with him.
Not many more.
Well,
You know,
right.
not many
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
You know, because
Um.
he's only got like 6, 8 matches left. You know,
Yep.
well,
Something like that.
6 to 6 pay-per-views or something like that.
Yep. Now I tell you,
So
I don't think that he's going to be leaving professional wrestling on the high note that he thought maybe he would be. I think that they expected this heel turn to be as big, if not bigger, than what it was when Hogan turned heel. This heel
yeah,
turn, in many ways, you could say, kind of flopped. It really did.
it's hard to erase what 18 years of him being such a face. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, if he would have gone with the Thugonomics character again, I would have been more behind it. You know, I think Xena as the Thugonomics or Doctor of Thugonomics was much more entertaining than this Ernest Goes to Camp looking thing.
Right. I do too. And I also think that there's multiples. One, this whole thing with The Rock, because of the fact that they didn't deliver, like, we all thought that this was a faction between Cena, The Rock, um, and whoever else was involved, right? That didn't happen. Two, I think that if they would have had Cena turn heel here in the United States instead of Canada, I think that at least the beginning of it would have been much bigger. I think the fans would have reacted. Um, I think it would have been a bigger reaction by the fans. So I just think that from the get go, it was just not good.
Yeah, no, if you would have had The Rock with Xena for 2, 3 months on a regular basis, that would have been pure dynamite. I think. You know, but the fact that they just did a one-off and that was it, and just left Xena hanging after that, I think that just really took a lot of the wind out of the sails out of that one.
Right. Yep. I
So,
agree.
but who knows?
Yep.
Xena's going to go on a high note because he's going to be a face when he leaves. Somehow, some
Right.
way, that last match is going to solidify him
Yeah.
as a face again,
Yep.
and
Oh, I
and
think he's going to turn into a face before this last match. I mean, look, last night after that pro he did because of how well it was, the fans. I mean, you didn't hear anyone screaming
right, the
Cena's
fans
cut.
were really behind it. Yeah,
Hell yeah,
yeah, the
they
fans
were.
were. I forgot to mention that. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, the fans were really behind Xena because I think what he was saying was true.
Right.
You know,
Yep. And what you know what's funny is a lot of the a lot of the heels today, um, the things that they're saying in their promos, a lot of times you do have to say it's kind of true what they're saying though, but yet they're the heels. That's what's been
right?
crazy about the heels in the past few months is their promos and the fact that they're actually speaking truth, even though they're the heels. So, but yeah, last night, man, the fans were just eating it up what John was
Oh
handing
yeah,
to him.
yeah, they were.
I mean, and
Yep,
again, I said it. You know, that was definitely the best promo John Cena has cut since he's been back, 100%.
right, right.
So
The fact that he called out Nick Nemeth wasn't a big deal
mhm,
because Nick's with TNA and TNA's got to work in
today,
association with
right?
WWE. But the fact that he called out Claudio, who's a direct competitor, and Matt Cardona, who will wrestle for anybody as long as he gets paid, you know,
Right.
um, again was just a shocker, you know. So Nick I could buy, but the other two was just kind of like, oh wow, John's
Yeah.
really testing the waters here. And I think anybody else they probably would have cut the mic on him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had to do that though because of the fact of he was, in a way, cutting the same promo CM Punk cut 12 years ago, however long it was, right? And when CM Punk originally cut his, pipe bomb promo, he mentioned some guys that was a shocker that he mentioned those guys. Of course, he got the mic cut off. So John Cena almost had to do so. Was the fact that he mentioned someone from AEW, because WWE will mention that so and so held titles in New Japan, they held titles here, held titles there, but they will not mention the name AEW in their program at all. That's why
Right.
I was shocked about that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it made for good TV. But that is the recap of SmackDown. Thank you guys for watching. I know we had to restart it because we had some issues that should happen sometimes when you're doing stuff live. I will be back again tomorrow with Britton, who, again, he was a homeless individual. He was able to make his comeback, get himself out of that situation. He was able to achieve his dream of being a professional wrestler. Also coming this week, I have Barbara Goodish, Bruiser Brody's widow. So excited about that. So please subscribe to the podcast. We will be back on Tuesday. Full crew, Mark, myself, George Strong, Kurtz, and of course, Mr. Hall of Famer, Bob Cook. Will be talking about Raw. Tuesday nights is kind of our A show, if you will. It's our big show. So check us out. And again, subscribe to the podcast. Mark, got anything to say?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. So just go get your bell rung.
That's right. Get your bell rung, everyone. Again, please subscribe, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.